Hey guys, what's going on? Super Deathbot here with a review of the Thor Ragnarok Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Gladiator Hulk. That is a mouthful. I found the other three figures at Target yesterday and wanted to get a review to you today. I think those three figures are pretty cool, but I think this guy is really, really awesome. As always, let's get right into it. And we will go over paintwork first, then articulation, and we'll paint and sculpt, then articulation, and just some thoughts on some of the design elements here. So I think, for the most part, they did a really, really, really awesome job on him. He has some design elements of House of M Hulk. In the movie, he has some design elements of Ultimate Hulk vs. Wolverine, that kind of thing with the necklaces and all that, so that's pretty cool. I do wish, however, a few things were a little different about this figure, but we'll go over some of those. Overall, paintwork, really good. The paint marks for his tribal markings or symbols or whatever those are going to be in the movie are really nice. There's actually some weathering and some different patterns in the metal here. This blue is different than this silverish type, and then on the back as well, it's bronze and worn, and all through the figure you get some of those elements. You get this metallic blue here, kinda. You get the purple running through, the black, leather and cables and things like that, all running through the figure and all done really well. The sculpting on the legs and the brown pants, things like that. Deadpool would be excited that he wore his brown pants. And the boots are really cool. The sandals, they actually flop off from the foot. The sculpt on it and the paint on it is really well for the sandals, and they did bronze tipped studs on the front of the sandals. The overall paintwork on this thing, the colors and everything match pretty well. If you take the shoulder pad off for some reason, which we can do, for some reason this green to me is a little off from this one, but it's much better than in previous years with Build-A-Figures and even some standard figures. So as far as kind of accessories and stuff go, obviously that's something you can take off. So as far as bare bones, this is pretty much as bare bones as this Hulk gets. Maybe there's a way to take that. I don't think there's really a way to take this one off, and I don't really need to because this is Gladiator Hulk after all. So he is pretty brooding as far as size goes, but so this is basically when you build the figure, this is how he comes. The add-ons are these other pieces, and we'll go over those with their paint and stuff too. But as you can see, the green paint across the whole figure is even, nice, smooth. He has the hair on his chest. He has, like I said, the weathering on all of the metals, different kinds of metals, metallics, matte colors. So, overall, just the paint on him is really, really nice. The sculpt work on all of the painted stuff is also really great too. You can see they're really stepping up what they're trying to do with these figures. This looks like a little bit more of an expensive figure than a Legends normally is. The sculpt on all this stuff, great. The sculpt on the body, great. One of the things that my tiny little gripe with the figure, and not much, is the face again. I feel like Legends never gets Hulk's face right when it comes to really making it look like the actor. Now, I don't much care about that because I like comic figures way better, but I do want to mention it because I think a lot of people collect movie figures, and some of them collect it to have that sculpt. I think in the movie, the Hulk looks like he has a different haircut than this. His face is a little different. His neck could definitely be a little longer, I think. So that's really my biggest gripe with this is, to me, he looks a lot more like Lou Ferrigno than he does Mark Ruffalo. The hair should be different, all that. So I'm getting the Mezco one as well, so I actually may end up customizing and sculpting my own head for this version to see if I can get a little bit better of what I think the Hulk looks like in this movie. So we'll keep on the paint and sculpt work on the accessories for a moment. So this is obviously his little shoulder pad here. The design, sculpt and paint on it, really awesome. I do like that they allowed it to come off soft, good, rubbery, so it can fit on them. Not going to break, sorry for the butterfingers. Then we have the Gladiator helmet. Once again, nice sculpt work, nice red to black fade. You have markings and damage and texture in it. Some weathering, not a lot. You get the clean paint lines on it. It is made out of a softer rubber material, so that way it can stretch. The inside even has some texture and some bolts and things on it, so that's kind of cool. I do like that they actually gave a gradient here because, like I said, they're trying to step it up a little. In past years, I guarantee you that pretty much would have just been all red. So that's nice. Weapons, sculpted fairly well. They're big, they're clunky, but they're Hulk accessories. They're kind of awesome. They have obviously a wash on them, as you can see, and they did a fairly good job on them. The wash does stop at the actual pretty much weapon and doesn't continue down to the handle, but that's no big deal. I still think they're pretty awesome. So we'll go over his articulation, throw all his armor back on with the accessories, and you guys can see what he looks like in full Gladiator form. I am super excited for this movie, and I hope it is just as amazing as it looks. So we will start with the head. It is on a ball joint. It can go up and down. It goes down pretty good, but not that great, and it goes up almost not really at all. It can not really even go side to side or left to right, but you can turn it. So articulation on his head, not so great, but not bad either. Shoulders, little disappointed in the articulation on that. If there's any disappointment in this figure, it is the articulation. That's as high as his shoulders can go. They're not. They can't even really go horizontally with his chest, which kind of stinks. But I guess if you want to put his weapons up and stuff like that, you can play with the swivel enough that you can get the motion you need out of his arms. He has a bicep swivel. He has a single jointed elbow. He has wrist movement. It doesn't really go side to side, but it does go up and down a little. Like I said, I just got this figure too, though, so it's a little stiff. Obviously, same thing on the other side. He has ab rotation. Does have an ab crunch. It's not very good, but he can go forward and he can go back, but not very far. He has thigh rotation, and then he has a double jointed knee. I really wish he had double jointed elbows, but what can you do? He has the ability to make his foot go pretty far down. It does go up a little, but not too far, and he does have ankle rocker. And he really can get into positions and keep his feet flat, which if you've seen any of my other videos, I am a big fan of making everyone's feet look flat when they are in dynamic posings. So, little lacking on the articulation for me. Especially I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I feel like Build-A-Figures should have all the articulation they can, all the good paintwork, and all the accessories. I mean, a lot of times, let's be honest, out of the 6 or 8 figures that we have to buy, most of us want 3 of them, sometimes 2, sometimes maybe even none. And occasionally, like for me with Spider-Man waves, you luck out because I end up wanting all the figures in the Spider-Man waves. I don't know if it's a different team or something working on them, but I think the Spider-Man waves always do a great job. And in recent I don't want to say times, in recently, I'll just say, the Guardians wave, the Netflix wave, all that stuff, they have been stepping up, but even I think the Spider-Man Homecoming wave was really awesome. Maybe I'm a little biased with Spider-Man, I don't know. But let's get his armor on and everything, and then you can see him full Gladiator style, and you can decide if you would like to try and purchase this guy or go on the hunt for all of the pieces, which I did for the last week straight, and it was a super pain in the ass. And luckily I found them, because if not, I was pretty much going to sell all the stuff I had and just buy the case online. So my only other really gripe I have with this figure after I get everything on, as you'll see, is I think the helmet slightly looks a little derpy. I'm not impressed with how they fit the helmet to him. It's not bad. I think if you get the angles right, I might try and take a little heat to it to shrink certain parts to get them to maybe fit a little better. If I do, I will do maybe a quick updated review on that if anyone might like to see that. So, I mean, as you can see with his weapons and everything, he's already really awesome and really brooding. And then throw his helmet on, and there you have your Gladiator Hulk. I think he's really cool. Like I said, I don't think the helmet is terrible or anything like that. I just wish maybe, like, you can see that the space. I don't know if you can from that distance, but there's like a space going between the back of his helmet. I mean, you can fidget around with it, but you can see out the back of it. I wish this kind of tucked to his face a little bit more like that so you couldn't see it. So that's why I said I might try and take some sort of heat to get it to shrink to his face better so you don't have that facial gap. And as you can see, it doesn't really fit the best on his head. It will go down past his face. If you like, it doesn't sit snug on his head. It kind of moves around a lot. So it's not obviously a deal breaker. It's not anything like that. It just could be a little better, but the side profile of it is awesome. I think the sculpt is awesome. I think on this particular figure, like I was complaining about in the Phoenix reviews, the stuff they cast this out of is actually, it works for this because it's metal, it's armor. And then I think the only other downside I wanted to mention is when you turn his head, the back of the helmet usually hits and sends the helmet down over his eyes. So overall, few little gripes, but as far as a builder figure goes, this is what I want to see from Hasbro. The articulation could definitely be better, but the paint work, the sculpt work, the sheer size of him, which I will show some figures right now before I stop this review, so you can see, this is Jane Foster Thor. So he's a sizable, good size, bigger than her. This is Colossus. So he's still even much bigger than Colossus, even though Colossus is hunched a little bit. Even so, standing up straight, much bigger than Colossus, way bigger than Jane Foster Thor. And I think that's a good scale for the Hulk. Me personally, I like a bigger Hulk. So I would, if I could have it, I think he'd be more of like a 10-inch figure without the helmet on. That's my own personal preference. This is a regular 6-inch Marvel Legend Army builder I got going on. But I think, especially if you play some angles or stuff like that, this Hulk is a really good size. Like, wish he was a little bigger, wish he had a little more articulation, but like I said, for a Build-A-Figure, I'm very satisfied. For a Legend, I'm even more satisfied. And I think he is worth picking up, maybe even if you're considering getting the Mezco one still too. And if not, and you're only into Legends, this is a great figure to have. So hopefully you enjoyed the review, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks.